Hi, everybody. I'm back with a new story. So last time we did Hanukkah Veronica for Hanukkah, and today I have one of my most favorite Christmas stories, How the Grinch Stole Christmas by Dr. Seuss. Every who down in Whoville liked Christmas a lot. But the Grinch, who lived just north of Whoville, did not. The Grinch hated Christmas the whole Christmas season. Now, please don't ask why. No one quite knows the reason. It could be his head wasn't screwed on just right. It could be perhaps that his shoes were too tight. But I think that the most likely reason of all may have been that his heart was 2 sizes too small. But whatever the reason, his heart or his shoes, he stood there on Christmas Eve, hating the Whos, staring down from his cave with a sour, grinchy frown at the warm lighted windows below in their town. For he knew every Who down in Whoville beneath was busy now hanging a mistletoe wreath. And they're hanging their stockings, he snarled with a sneer. Tomorrow is Christmas. It's practically here. And then he growled with his Grinch fingers nervously drumming. I must find some way to stop Christmas from coming. For tomorrow, he knew, all the Who girls and boys would wake bright and early and they'd rush for their toys. And then, oh, the noise, the noise, the noise, the noise. That's the one thing he hated, was the noise, 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 noise. Look, they get all their presents. He did not like all that noise. And then the Who, young and old, would sit down to a feast, and they feast and they feast and they feast, feast, feast. They would feast on Who pudding and rare Who roast beef, which was something that the Grinch couldn't stand in the least. And then he got an idea, an awful idea. The Grinch got a wonderful, awful idea. Then he loaded some bags and some old empty sacks on a ramshackle sleigh, and he hitched up old Max. And the Grinch said, giddy up, and the sleigh started down toward the homes where the Whos lay a snooze in their town. Then he slid down the chimney, a rather tight pinch, but if Santa could do it, then so could the Grinch. He got stuck only once, for a moment or two. Then he stuck his head out of the fireplace flue, where the little Who stockings all hung in a row. These stockings, he grinned, are the first things to go. Then he slithered and slunk with a smile most unpleasant around the whole room, and he took every present: pop guns and bicycles, roller skates, drums, checkerboards, tricycles, popcorn, and plums. And he stuffed them in bags, and then the Grinch very nimbly stuffed all the bags one by one up the chimney. He's taking away all their presents. Why do you think he's doing that? Yeah, he's trying to stop Christmas from coming. He doesn't like all the noise. He doesn't like how they feast. He doesn't like all the presents. He wants to stop it from coming. Then he slunk to the icebox. He took the Who's feast. He took the Who pudding. He took the roast beef. He cleaned up the icebox as quick as a flash, while that Grinch even took their last can of Who hash. You guys know what an icebox is? Because that's a word you don't really hear a lot today, because this book was written very, very long time ago. Yeah, that's the refrigerator. And the Grinch grabbed the tree and he started to shove when he heard a small sound like the coo of a dove. He roamed around fast and he saw a small Who, little Cindy Lou who was not more than 2. The Grinch had been caught by this tiny Who daughter. who got out of bed for a cup of cold water. She stared at the Grinch and said, Santa Claus, why? Why are you taking our Christmas tree? Why? So there he meets little Cindy Lou Who. And she's like, why are you taking the Christmas tree? Then oops, hold on. They got stuck together. But you know that old Grinch was so smart and so slick? He thought up a lie, and he thought it up quick. Why, my sweet little tot, the fake Santa Claus lied. There's a light on the tree that won't light on one side. So I'm taking it home to my workshop, my dear. I'll fix it up there, and then I'll bring it back here. And his fib fooled the child, and he patted her head, and he got her a drink, and he sent her to bed. And when Cindy Lou Who went to bed with her cup, he went up the chimney and stuffed the tree up. Not a very nice lie that he told Cindy Lou Who. And then the last thing he took was the log for the fire, and he went up the chimney himself, that old liar. On their walls he left nothing but hooks and some wire. And one speck of food that he left in the house was a crumb that was even too small for a mouse. It was 1/4 dawn. All the Who's still abed, all the Who's still a snooze when he packed up his sled. He packed it up with presents, the ribbons, the wrappings, the tags, and the tinsel and trimmings and trappings. It's sticking. 3,000 feet up the side of Mount Crumpet, he rode with his load to the tip top to dump it. Poo-poo to the Who's, he was grinchiously humming. They're finding out now that no Christmas is coming. They're just waking up. I'll know just what they'll do. Their mouths will hang open a minute or two, and then the Who's down in Whoville will all cry boo-hoo. So that's what he thinks is going to happen, because he took all of their stuff for Christmas. But let's see. That's a noise, grinned the Grinch, that I simply must hear. So he paused, and the Grinch put a hand to his ear. He wants to hear them crying about no Christmas. And he did hear a sound rising over the snow. It started in low, and then it started to grow. So he does hear something. But it wasn't sad. Why, this sound sounded merry. It couldn't be so, but it was merry, very. He stared down at Whoville. The Grinch popped his eyes, and then he shook. What he saw was a shocking surprise. He can't believe what he's hearing. He thought he'd hear crying, but instead, every Who down in Whoville, the tall and the small, was singing without any presents at all. He hadn't stopped Christmas from coming. It came. Somehow or another, it came just the same. So even though he took all of their stuff, they have nothing for Christmas, they're still singing and they're merry and they're happy. And he's like, what? I don't understand. And the Grinch, with his Grinch feet ice cold in the snow, stood puzzling and puzzling. How could this be so? It came without ribbons. It came without tags. It came without packages, boxes, or bags. And he puzzled 3 hours till his puzzlet was sore. And then the Grinch thought of something that he hadn't before. Maybe Christmas, he thought, doesn't come from a store. Maybe Christmas perhaps means a little bit more. So remember when I read that Thanksgiving story, Thanksgiving at the Tappletons, and all their food was gone. They had no pumpkin pie, no turkey, no stuffing, no mashed potatoes. And yet they still had a great Thanksgiving, because Thanksgiving is not just about the food, it's about being together with your family and being thankful. Well, Christmas too, it's not just about presents and trimmings and decorations and everything else. It's about being together, being with family, celebrating a time of season. And so now the Grinch is starting to realize that. So the two stories are pretty similar in a way. And what happened then? Well, in Whoville, they say that the Grinch's small heart grew 3 sizes that day. And the minute his heart didn't feel quite so tight, He whizzed with his load through the bright morning light, and he brought back the toys and the food for the feast, and he, hold on, himself, the Grinch, carved the roast piece. So he started to realize what Christmas is really about after that, and he gave them back everything, and then his heart got bigger. And after that, he became part of Christmas, and he didn't hate it as much. So he became part of the whole Christmas spirit and loving it. So I hope you enjoyed this story. One of my favorite Christmas stories. It's a classic. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And I hope you enjoyed it, everyone. Thanks.